Okay guys, today we're going to put an engine together. This is a K341 16 horsepower out of a 1650. The block's all cleaned and ready to go. As you can see, I already installed the main bearing, and that's a pretty straightforward installation. A little bit of oil on the outside of the race, and then tap it in with a brass punch, and it'll go in till it bottoms out. Over here's the rest of my parts, all cleaned and ready to go. One thing I recommend you doing is making yourself a little cheat sheet that has all the torque specs you're going to need and the bolt pattern for torquing the head down. That way you don't have to keep running back to your computer or getting your book all greasy. Now, the first thing we're going to do is put the governor in. Now, even though these parts are already clean, before I put each one in, I'm going to hit it with a little brake cleaner just to make sure it's good and clean before I put it. Make sure you put oil on everything as it goes together so nothing starts dry. We'll start by putting the governor arm in. And once it's in, I just like to let it lay there until I get the rest of it in. Next, I'm going to install the governor gear. Before the gear goes on, there is a thrust washer that has to go on. Once again, oil everything as you're putting it together. Okay, once the gear's in, you can go ahead and put the screw in. Adjust this camera just a little bit. Okay. All right, once that's in, we can finish putting the arm in. Make sure it's in the bushing on the inside of the motor. Put the spacer in, and then put the nut on the outside. Now once you have that tightened down, make sure the governor arm moves freely. If it's tight, you need to take it back apart and figure out why. Because if it sticks, the governor will not work correctly once the motor's together. Next, we're going to install the lifter. Once again, oil is your friend. Make sure they move freely in the bore. All right. For the next project, I'll turn this around and hopefully you can see just a little bit. We're going to install the camshaft. Now when it comes time to do the timing, where's the camera at? There it is. This mark right here is your main timing mark. You're going to know where that is. It's not important right now, but it will be when we set the crank in. Now, just so I wasn't having to figure it out while I was making this video, I already went ahead and measured for the camshaft end play. So I already know how many spacers I'm going to need. And this part of the job is often a little tricky, especially if you're using aftermarket spacers, because they are usually not as big as the camshaft is. Make sure all these parts are oiled up good before you put it together. Now, what I like to do is start by sticking the pin in just through far enough that I can get the spacers on. And then set the camshaft in, which is a little tricky to do sometimes, but believe me, it will go in there. Go. If you get lucky, or if you get unlucky, the spacers will move. And there we go. Since I already know the end play is correct, I'll go ahead and tap that in a bit. Now, to check your end play, you're going to want to hold the camshaft up to the top of the motor, and you're looking between 5 and 10 thousandths end play, and you measure that on the end with the spacers. And you stick your feeler gauge in there. This feeler gauge is 6 thousandths. And it goes in, and I know, because I already checked, that a 7 won't fit. So we're good to go for the camshaft. Now, when it comes time to do the crank, make sure everything's clean. Put a little bit of oil on the crank so that it slides into the bearing. Now, right here is the mark for the timing on the crank. And you'll want to set that in there. And it works best if you look through the back. Just like that. Now, I don't know how good this will pick it up. Not very well at all, actually. But you can see the dimple in the crankshaft, or the camshaft, and the dimple in the crank are lined up, so the motor should be in time. Now for the rear bearing plate, get yourself some bolts. These are 3-inch long. You just cut the heads off them. And that'll give you something to hang your gaskets on and to slide the plate onto. Make sure your cam pins drove in flush before the bearing plate goes on. A little bit of oil on the crank where the bearing's going to ride, just to help everything slide together. Now I already checked the end play for the crankshaft as well, so I know how many gaskets I need. Now when it comes to this area, some people say put these on dry, some people say put silicone on them. There's a lot of debate going on there. You do what you want. For the record, I like to use the Permatex spray gasket sealant. Just makes the gaskets a little bit sticky. But unlike silicone, you don't have to worry about it oozing out everywhere. Okay, now that that's done, you can go ahead and slide the bearing plate on. And it doesn't want to cooperate. And there we go. Once those two bolts are started in, you can remove the studs and put the other two bolts in. Torque spec on this is 35 foot-pounds.